It really pains me to have to make this video because I literally was just up here trying to, and I don't want to say advocate for this person, but I'm sitting here trying to educate people. See, now people are going to sit here and start to think that I'm some type of advocate for mixed women specifically. No, I'm Vesper Koniak. I'm a design strategist, and I teach you the strategy behind things that seem like chaos, coincidence, or luck. However, I do have a child who's half Black and half Puerto Rican, and to a certain degree, I'm going to have to explain some of these cultural do's and don'ts, as a Black mom, right? So let's practice with this co-brand situation of Latto and Doja Cat for their song "Okay" off of Latto's most recent album, Big Mama. If you like strategic analysis, branding and marketing, and a little bit of story time, then this video is for you, my fellow curious intellect. Today's video format, we're gonna walk through the video and I'm gonna give you some of my ideas as we go. I'll also have a story time where I talk about my own personal experiences to kind of synthesize my thoughts and reaction in the video to try to help explain why people are so uncomfortable with the visuals and imagery in the music video. So pay attention. You gotta pay attention. You gotta watch the whole video to get to know what I think, You gotta spend some time with me. And then at the end, I'll ask you for your comments, your feedback, your ideas. If you think I'm completely wrong, if you want to argue with me in the comments, please do. And I genuinely do look forward to reading your comments. And I like to take a moment to thank people who've commented on my channel for a while and said things like they liked my voice or they like the topics or how I present them. So I really appreciate you watching. All right, enough games. Let's get into it. So this always happens, like whenever I'm working on a video or doing something else dramatic about this artist comes out with Latto. I had just made a YouTube short talking about how Latto has always identified as a mixed, person. Are biracial people actually Black? I was perusing YouTube and I ran across the video.
Latto has built a massive platform based on a specific aesthetic and sound, aka Black American women.
The argument was that Latto is appropriating Black culture, which could very well be true. Drake exists as a person, right?
And what you're looking at up here on the screen is a rough guesstimate of how many times Latto has used the N-word in her music.
Normally, I don't even comment on these types of videos about Latto. I just want to be aware of what the dialogue is for these female rappers since that's what I cover on my channel. But the way that the video author framed a clip that they put in there.
Oh, I love white chicks.
What is it about the movie that you're so drawn to?
Probably because I'm white.
It was just being intellectually dishonest, and for me, it had me have to respond. My comment was, her name out the gate is Miss Mulatto. She has never claimed Blackness, and if Black people want to gatekeep, go ahead and gatekeep. She's gone off and had a child who's now 3/4 Black. It garnered a response from the creator. She had wrote that she wanted to gatekeep, and so she made this video to spread awareness and told me to make my own video, which is what I'm doing. And I was working on it anyway, which is why I even commented on her video, because I already had done the research.
What is it about the movie that you're so drawn to?
Probably because I'm white. No, I'm just saying. I mean, kind of half of me.
And she's like, you'll never be her. It's always so embarrassing to see dark-skinned Black women want to be a pet for these women. Latto's beautiful in her own right, but I'm like, baby, I don't be both to the PFP, so let's not pretend like I would have something to be worried about. Anyway, I digress. Do better and get off your knees. You're mad at me for having an opinion. Something along those lines. Tell me I'm clit riding people. And I was like, okay. It wasn't until the year 2000 did they add the option of 2 or more races back to the US Census after they got rid of it in around 1930-ish for the 1-drop rule. Stay tuned for my video because I explain what that is. Where I live and where I grew up, the ratio was around 18% 2 or more races. About 1 in 5 people is mixed or biracial. You do see Black and white people intermingling a lot and sharing a culture. Growing up, my best friends were half Black and half white with a white mom. Now, I will say there is a difference between white mom, Black mom, and whoever else mom, because women usually are the ones who pass on culture and tradition to the children. Before they changed the census back, I would ask my friend what she would put, and she said she would always put other because she didn't want to negate one parent's existence to make her or their input into making her. They're her parents. As she got older, she started to identify more with Blackness. For me, my personal perception is understanding and accepting that they're biracial. Sorry, I don't know. You can talk about passing, we could talk about presentation, you can talk about self-identifying, whatever. Talking about how, if people are going to critique her accurately. And as soon as I say that, here she comes with something that is critique worthy. And to me, it's no surprise that, of course, paired along with this music video is Doja Cat. They are both American female rappers who are mixed black and white and who have fan base overlap. These two women are also going on tour in the fall on Doja Cat's Tour Mavi as she starts up her leg of the tour in the United States. If you've watched like my review on her last album and my review of Latto's most recent album, I've indicated or noticed this pattern that Doja Cat does with like her music and certain themes, which will be important for us to discuss in this video. So stay tuned. Obviously, they both have colorist tendencies. Quite a lot.
Let's get into it. So what is colorism? Well, it's not racism from the outside. It's discrimination within a group or any group. Bias against darker skin tones by people who look like you. It's real. It's damaging. It's global. And it's still happening. Let's start with the Caribbean. In Jamaica, Trinidad, Barbados, Haiti, skin tone often decides how people see you and treat you. Lighter skin often means beauty, privilege, success to them. That's what they believe. And darker skin, we still face stigma. And here's the painful truth. Skin bleaching is a billion-dollar industry in the Caribbean. That tells us everything that we need to know. Now let's head overseas, whether it's to the US or Canada. In black communities, colorism appears in the media, in workplaces, and even in the justice system. So they show lighter-skinned Americans or Canadians earn more money, get shorter prison sentences, receive more positive representation. From music videos to movies, the lighter you are, the more you're often favored.
And more so, Latto colorist and like Doja Cat anti-black. But, you know, we're just going to lump them together in this instance. We're going to go through this video. See, even when I watched this the first time, that first scene, I was like, okay, I know what we're doing here. I very much know what we're doing here. And I'm going to just say that I believe that this is Doja Cat's doing. And I'll explain why in a little bit. And also, Latto always starts a video or has a video where she's laying on the ground somewhere or laying on something. And I'm like, what is it about this specific imagery that you have to put it in like most of your videos? I don't know. Maybe it has some significance that I don't know of, but yeah. Okay, all right. And when I'm thinking about this video, I'm like, in the majority of the scenes, Latto looks like uncomfortable or unnatural. And I know that like with her, particularly in her music video, she does have like some type of like awkwardness in her videos or like her dancing or whatever. But it was a weird like energy I noticed throughout the entire like video. Okay, why? Okay, so I did particularly like I gotta blur this out. I did like the kind of like backstage, like vintage camera feel. And in my personal opinion, I partly think that this is done in such a provocative way because people are needing people to come to tours and go to shows. Not to say that Doja Cat doesn't have any, people willing to pay, because I was, looking into getting a friend to get me some tickets. So, because I don't want to pay for my chance. My friend can get them for me. Anyway, let's get back to this. But then I was like, why do we got to do this? Like, and for me, I understand this is like straight up. Hold on. So when we go back to the scene of her in the bathroom and they're doing push-ups, and I'm like, this is very fetishizing content. This is like fetish-y content beyond the oiled up sexualized bodies in general. Okay, that's a choice. If you've watched Doja Cat over these past few years, she's been intentionally doing things. This is my theory. This is what I speculate, is that this is done purposefully in order to garner attention or to like get some type of backlash or something, so that there is more conversation, there's obviously been a lot of conversation about it. See, and people were talking about A lot of people were talking about the scene and commenting on the scene, and I was like, yeah, the eye contact is very weird. So I don't know what that was for, but oh my lord. And so between the contrast between the skin tones and the lighting, there is an implicit power balance, and that also stirs emotions in people as well. My tagline is everything you encounter is by design. It because it is. Like, they want people to make videos about this. They want people to discuss this as a topic. Like, that is the point. Uh, because the song overall is about power dynamics going back and forth with the person, like push and pull. And so their interpretation or their manifestation of that dynamic is very interesting, to say the least. Okay, I just have to say, for the styling for this one, like, the styling looks kind of crazy to me. Like, just the Manolo, the boots. I don't understand this whole scene though. Like, it's a very weird, like, scenario. I don't get this one. Okay. And see, this is where I was like, now you're really pissing me off. The first, I was like, okay, well, there's only black people in the beginning because, you know, Lado has only been publicly seen dating a black person. So that makes sense. But the Doja Cat one, I'm like, absolutely not. She would never. She would never, especially not that dark. Okay. So, you know, she might do somebody in jail, but he's going to be white. She'll do white criminal, you know, from my perspective, what I've observed, but not a black one. So to me, that really threw it off. And that's when I was like, this is, I don't want to say it's satire because it's very, very serious, but this is to garner attention. Again, the look is good on, you know, Doja Cat. It's a good look. I do, okay. And usually too, I'm not like a duck nail type person, but the length of these I really do like. So I was like, even the styling to the nails I could do with for Doja Cat. And I will say that I do like the overall vintage look for Doja Cat because she's doing this whole like Y2K thing. And I feel like for her aesthetic, it really matches it and she commits to it in a way that like feels more authentic. I guess this is what her next album cycle is going to be focused on. Since she tends to do that. And it gives me like trashy Y2K, like girl that's still like stylish too. So I do like that aesthetic. I was gonna say something. It reminds me of like some of these certain corn stars, how they used to look in the early 2000s to mid 2000s. You know, sorry. I do like that line, I'm sorry. See, like, okay. So scenes like that where they're in the hotel room or whatever, just dancing, you know, doing like the POV behind the scenes type thing. This gives me like, this is a film and they're in it. That's just the energy or like the vibe I get from this. But yeah, as I was saying, the other shots of them just dancing and doing whatever is fine. But I'm like, now you're purposely doing the power dynamics too. Because in a jail, I was like, in a jail, Doja, in a jail, in a prison. Okay, all right. But this is the woman that said, come manifest your destiny, in reference to like some man, you know, getting with her and presumably losing Doja Cat. This man would be white. So it was just like, oh, why do you do this? Why do you keep doing this in public? And you know, if that's your thing, you know, do that. But like in public and making it a part of like the lore, it's kind of like, ugh. Bring it down, Amala. Okay. All right, and cleaning the car too. Okay, and the white hats too. Again, it's about it's giving me porn energy. This is straight up whose OF content got leaked? Because like, what is that? I don't know. That's what we're watching right now, just so you guys like comprehend. I just keep thinking about like 50 Cent and G Unit, unfortunately. But again, I don't understand this outfit. So I rephrase, like Latto's giving me more like dancer in the club, and then Doja Cat's giving me like star in a movie. Okay. I mean, obviously, you know, I'm all about sex work, but I'm like, this is like, you know, what the video is. So yeah, this I would want to say that I expected more, but then again, when she did the video with Ice Spice, they were in a wrestling ring and they were dressed as like wrestlers, right? And I liked Latto's look. She looked like Sable or something, you know? I was like, that's really cute. But Ice Spice was pretty much wearing skin colored bandages. And I was just like, okay, guys. All right, guys. Y'all are doing too much here. But I guess anything to get the attention, the views, the engagement. But overall, from my perspective, even liking both of their music, you know, respectively, the song is really good. But then the video was like, ooh, immediately it gave me like a odd feeling. So now that we have all this information, these perspectives, what are we gonna do with this insight? So taking a step back and thinking about it, when I watched the video, I noticed that I had like a visceral reaction to something, and I wanted to investigate what that reaction was. And in the process of doing that, it made me think about my friendship that I had with a man that we're going to call Jon Snow. As I said in my review about Tierra Whack, I used to work in tech, and you know, a lot of people who work in tech are white men, especially in Connecticut. One of the people that worked there was this man named John, and we ended up being friends. Him and I both like MMA, mixed martial arts, and like watching UFC at the time. We both would like bond over music, Tyler the Creator. We would listen to The Weeknd, and he especially loved Drake. He loved Drake a lot. But one of the things that we used to do all the time were go to the casino. So we would like to just go to the casino and people watch, and like, I mean, it's Connecticut, there's not much to do. So we would like just go to drink, walk around, maybe go to the clubs. I would dance and my friend would just like stand there. But anyway, so we would go a lot, and it's just me and him. For context, for me, my family is Black American. My family is from Alabama and South Carolina, and I'm from Connecticut. And I'm a very dark-skinned person with more like traditionally West African features. So already in Connecticut, I get more like exoticized compared to most typical Black people. And then pairing it with my friend who is a conventionally attractive, fit, bald white man with like light colored eyes and pale skin. And he's like slightly older than me, maybe like 8 years older than me or so. I know he's in his 40s now. I know he's like at least 41, maybe 42. But I digress. Anyway, people would automatically assume that we were dating. Some Black women would compliment us, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're not a couple, we're just friends. And like one time we were at a party with some other people, and there was another Black woman, and she's like, oh, you know, is that your dude? I'm like, nah, that's just my friend, that's the homie. And so she went to talk to him, and he comes back to me, he's like, oh, that girl asked me for my number. I was like, you're so cool. Black girl asked for your phone number. Look at you. So we were like bros like that. We would just like play around. But with white audiences or white people, it was just, people would just stare. People would just stare. Like it wouldn't be even like a negative stare or like an aggressive stare. They would just stare. People would stare at us regardless, right? But sometimes people would get like very aggressive, and it was mostly Black men or like Black Latino men or just Latino men. But we're going to talk about the Black Latino men first. So, you know, foreshadowing. Thankfully, my friend did practice martial arts and like do jujitsu and stuff. Because like sometimes people would try to legitimately attack him for no reason, just because we're hanging out and like walking together. And I want to specify and clarify that me and my friend, we did not know these people. We weren't staring at them. We weren't trying to antagonize them. These are legitimately random men who would just come up and try to instigate things with my friend. Sometimes like the men would like try to check him, like shoulder check him or staring him down. I assume it's similar to like when I first watched this video here, where it was like a visceral reaction to seeing something like so like emotionally upsetting. Seeing a black woman with a white man and having them be conventionally attractive, it is a very specific power dynamic because it also ties in patriarchy as well. People wouldn't believe us at first until they started spending time with us or hanging out with us. They're like, oh yeah, people actually like, try to fight him, or people actually are like violent towards this person for no reason. No reason other than we're hanging out, and we're genuinely, truly platonic friends. Literally, we're just bros who'd hang out, vape, occasionally, drink, go to bars, watch sports, literally just hang out. He likes to do karaoke, so we'd sing, like, this bro shit. I was doing some research and it made me think of the portrait of Ham.
In 1895, Modesto Brocos created the painting, The Redemption of Ham. It featured an African woman, her mulatto daughter, her European husband, as well as a child. The piece explores the concept of blancamiento and mejorando la raza, whitening the race and making it better. A telling detail in this piece is the grandmother thanking God that the child is not black or dark-skinned, as well as a grin on the father's face for what many believe is the exact same reason. The piece was made after the emancipation of slaves in Brazil. It's believed that at the time, the Brazilian government wanted to determine the destiny of black people and how they would live within the country. And miscegenation was said to be one of the techniques used in order to secure the destiny for black people. The piece is named The Redemption of Ham after the biblical story of Ham, the son of Noah. Noah condemns Ham to be a slave and the servant of servants. At the time, it was believed that African races and people from the African continent were the descendants of Ham, and therefore condemned to be slaves.
So the approach to miscegenation in the United States and Latin America was very different. Latin America thoroughly, even to this day, thoroughly pushes miscegenation, but primarily of like white or lighter skinned men with darker women. Okay, this next piece is very abhorrent. It's very horrible. It's very, not great, not cool. However, it's very fascinating and interesting to me as an instructional designer. So like a person who designs educational material and like curriculum and stuff, to see their system, the Spanish and Portuguese system of like the racial classifications of people and like how they show, a woman, a man, a child, and like the different naming and the organization of it, and like how it's very easy to understand, right? So I like this design. I don't like what it's designing or like expressing, but I like the structure and organization so people understand it and it's clear, right? This is a good piece of propaganda. So let me say, we don't make propaganda like this no more. This is solid instructional propaganda. Okay? All right. That's why Latin America is so wow. Thorough propaganda. Conversely, in the United States, they did a lot of, you can talk about redlining, districting, literal laws like Jim Crow laws, anti-miscegenation laws, the one-drop rule, that were all designed to enforce and sustain a social class dynamic where black individuals are at the bottom and white are at the top. It ties into the second portion of what I was talking about. So when I said white Latinos versus black Latinos, the black Latinos would get very like upset and angry versus the white Latinos would be more intrigued. And okay, I call it a parlor trick or like a little game trick, but for me, I practice speaking multiple languages and I'm fairly decent at speaking Spanish. Still learning French, it's just the pronunciation. It's the pronunciation of things. And I was learning Mandarin Chinese, but I'm gonna have to start all over again because that's the romantic languages is pretty easy to like modify and like understand once you learn like one of them. And so that's why I wanted to learn Chinese, because like it's like a STEM language for the East Asia portion of the globe. Anyway, so whenever I go to bars or wherever we go out to people, like I would just talking to people in like, Spanish. Like just like surprise them. But I've noticed specifically with like the white Colombians, like that's like really what gets them going. We were at a bar one time and we ran into this random Colombian man. I'm speaking Spanish, and he started talking about he loves negritas, he loves the dark skinned women there. This is a fetish thing. I totally know this. And again, to clarify, this is one Colombian man at this bar, but throughout my interactions across different spaces, it's mostly white Latinos. Other Latino men, they would engage, we would just have fun. It was banter, but it was specific type of men who fetishized my appearance. Big body foreign, or foreign man in a foreign land. He has like multiple videos on what is called like negrophilia, like the hypersexualization and like fetishization of blackness and black bodies. For me personally, I've experienced this not only with white Colombian, with white men too. And I noticed that like when I'm very thin, I just get more like attention and interaction from white men in general. Like particularly when I have natural hair as well. It's like an extra contrast or difference, and it creates like more of like a visceral reaction in people. that would cause people to fight, which is what makes me think that this video is more of like a fetish style video. Because when you look at Latin American videos that are of the adult nature, a lot of the time the dark skinned woman will tan. And I noticed that Latto was tan. Not to say that Latto doesn't tan or can't tan, but like that is one of the notable features. And in the video, the contrast is like turned up super, super high to emphasize the differences in the skin tones and, you know, the ranges, like the difference in appearance, or the difference in lighting, and then adding the oil and making them look a certain type of way, specific way. And, you know, their dancing is very sensual. And I think that combination of like seeing the explicit contrast hypersexualized, it to me, it was like they obviously are intentionally playing with this power dynamic and aligning it to the content of the song, which is all about push and pull in a somewhat toxic seeming relationship. That is my speculation on like why this caused people to be uncomfortable. And yes, there are systemic factors like colorism, which are bred from, pun intended, bred from this dynamic, which is this experiment called colonization.
But where does this all come from? Whether you're Caribbean or Black American, colorism has one shared origin: white supremacy. They make up all our problems. And during slavery and colonization, lighter skin meant closer to power, as this it was a mix of massa and slavery.
In America, we don't have that history or legacy of having people who are, you know, identifiably mixed race, like for long periods of time in our culture, right? People would either have to pass or they would be, you know, presumed to be Black. We as a like nation are not socialized to the idea of mixed people on a large scale like that. That is part of people's uncomfortability with like the concept of biracial people or biracial people in general, or like how some people may perceive them as like threatening, because it is like the direct connection of two opposing like social class and dynamic meeting in like the form of a person. It's like really, really crazy when you think about it. It's like really crazy. And part of the reason why I bring up the whole biracial aspect is because this is a group of people, particularly the women. I'm specifying that the women are particularly sexualized and fetishized across different cultures, especially in Black America. And so that's why I'm speculating that they are intentionally playing upon this power dynamic. And when you look at the bodies that are in the video, the men are doing things that most women would find appealing or attractive, them washing the car, them doing push-ups, where it's something that focuses on their body, like showing the athleticism, which is something that most Black people have been stereotyped at being, particularly dark-skinned people. And the fact that Latto and Doja Cat are both biracial as well, it ties into their proximity to whiteness. And historically, within the context of America, white women have positions of power over white men and can alter their lives and destinies irrevocably, can create like such a visceral like gut feeling and cause people to want to analyze a piece of media, dissect it, discuss it, talk about it, share it. And again, like the first time around was very visceral. The second time around was so uncomfortable. And I think it's also the pacing of the song and the slowness of the song and seeing all these bodies and these motion and the contrast in such a slow and like drawn out way that it's even more like hypnotic and bypasses your conscious mind. And that's why I always want to ask questions of why, because people just think that all of the choices they make are conscious, and the vast majority of them are not. And so whenever I feel like a somatic response or like a visceral response, I need to explore like what it is, like why, what signals or whatever bypassed my conscious mind and like went straight to like my body sensation. So I'm always like in a mode to explore, research, and uncover. But alas, my friend, he ended up moving to Miami and ended up getting around destiny for whatever reason. And then he fully ascended when he moved to Asia and got married and, you know, became a full-fledged passport bro. I mean, I still love you, bro. Kind of. I don't know, maybe if you're not being a dick. Yeah. Not being a little bitch, because sometimes CB's a little bitch, you know? Our friendship was like frenemies, like type of friends, you know, going back and forth. So, but I say all this to say my interpretation was this video was to show a physical manifestation of fetishistic power imbalances. And from my personal opinion, my personal perspective, Doja Cat is a person who definitely exploits her own exoticism, quote unquote, for monetary gain, obviously. And so does a lot of, most people who are conventionally attractive do, to a degree. It's like purposefully for this role in this like niche, because they know that people would most likely fetishize them in general. It's, it's dual. Now, to see how this plays out, I don't know. We will have to keep our eye on the situation here. Again, this is similar to my Brandon Blackwood and Shira 7 co-brand video. Like, overlap does not mean alignment. And so I feel like Latto has more black women fans and Doja Cat has more gay male fans, if that makes sense. And, we're going to have to reconcile that at some point, So I don't know what to do because you didn't pay me. So, but that's all I can say for right now from an external observation. But I'm more curious to know what you think. Do you think this video is intentional? Do you think this is just accidental colorism? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, everything you encounter is by design. So until next time, I'm Vesper Cognac.